it's okay, as long as yung ating contact tracing, yung ating is very credible, and well done yung ating contact tracing. But presently, parang kulang na kulang.
It will allow some areas to continue with economic activity while people are warned what is the level of the viral transmission at that particular locality.
We are still at war, and I know that the economy is an issue, but let us not waste whatever gains that we have sa pagmamadali natin.
And you just heard various voices from the country's health sector seemingly split on whether or not it's the right time to ease restrictions in Metro Manila.
Starting tomorrow, NCR will be placed under Alert Level 4 in the hopes of reviving the economy even as COVID-19 infections continue to surge. The new scheme will allow certain businesses to reopen at limited capacity. Good evening, I'm Gretchen Ho.
And I'm Edwin Gao. You're watching The Big Story. We begin tonight with health experts expressing their concerns on the new alert level system that will be implemented in Metro Manila starting tomorrow.
Government officials, meanwhile, maintain their stance, saying that the move will be a boon to the economy. Greg Gregorio with The Big Story.
Medical experts have expressed concerns about the factors that will be considered in determining which alert level is appropriate for an area. The health department says that the COVID-19 transmission rate and hospital occupancy will be the basis for this. Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines Incorporated President Dr. Jose De Grano is worried that the country has yet to come up with reliable virus transmission data.
It's okay, as long as yung ating contact tracing, yung ating is very credible, and well done yung ating contact tracing. But presently, parang kulang na kulang.
PHAPI also notes that the healthcare and ICU utilization rates do not reflect the real situation on the ground. For one, data may show vacant beds for patients, but in reality, the hospital can no longer accommodate them due to manpower issues. Hospitals are also catering to patients from different LGUs.
Katulad ng Makati, ng Taguig, puno na puno lagi ang kanilang hospitals. Paano yung pag-overwhelming, di ba? So, level 5 sila or level 4 lagi.
MMDA Chairman Benhur Abalos says that this matter has been discussed already by placing the entire Metro Manila under the same alert level. NTF Special Advisor Ted Darbosa tells The Big Story that a new scheme aims to strike a balance between health and economy.
It will allow some areas to continue with economic activity while people are warned what is the level of the viral transmission at that particular locality.
But for epidemiologist and NITAG member Dr. Consortia Lim Kizan, it is not yet the right time to put Metro Manila under an experimental lockdown.
We are still at war, and I know that the economy is an issue, but let us not waste whatever gains that we have sa pagmamadali natin.
For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
And let's consult the LGUs. Joining us tonight is Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte. Mayor Joy, thank you for joining us tonight and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Gretchen, and thank you for having me on the show. It is my pleasure.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor, well, to begin with po, kamusta po ang inyong preparations for tomorrow doon sa panibagong sistema na ina-adapt natin sa Metro Manila?
Well, naging maswerte lang po tayo dahil medyo maaga ngayon ibinigay ang mga guidelines na pertaining to the alert level system as well as the granular lockdown guidelines. And because of the two-day leeway, we were able to localize these guidelines, fill in some gaps. And today we were able to meet with our stakeholders and cascade these guidelines so that hopefully by tomorrow, all the stakeholders, including the barangays, the business sector, the private sector, the NGO sector are prepared for this new rollout.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, kagabi kausap namin si Dr. Consortia Lim, si Dr. Conky Lim ng NITAG. Ang concern niya is, well, among other things, paano yung implementation doon sa, for example, yung yung 10% lamang ang pwedeng dine-in at lahat sila dapat bakunado and all that. I suppose kasi sa LGU babagsak yung mga ganung mga enforcement. Marami-rami po yan.
Opo. So una sa lahat, nabanggit namin sa localized guidelines namin na kailangan may public health officer ang bawat establishment na ang trabaho lamang ng taong ito ay mag-check doon sa mga customers nila kung meron ng vaccination cards na may hawak, at kung may vaccination cards, pwede sila mag-dine-in. Kung wala naman, pwede sila doon sa alfresco section, assuming there is an alfresco section. And we have a team as well composed of various departments in our city na dati naman umiikot pero ngayon ay mas iikot pa, mas pinaigting pa natin na ang trabaho lamang ay makita kung talagang yung ating mga guidelines ay sinusundan ng maayos. No? So the burden obviously is now on the LGU.
Okay, ma'am, doon po sa granular lockdowns po, can you give us an idea muna kung ilan ngayon naka-granular lockdown and paano yung proseso ninyo ng pagdidesisyon kung aling mga lugar yung mag-granular? Is it the health office or is it the mayor's office?
Alam nyo, Ed, ang granular lockdowns ay hindi naman bago dito sa lungsod Quezon. Actually, 2 taon na po natin ito ginagawa dito. And at present, we have 51 lockdown areas. No? Bagamat masasabi ko na hindi pareho hindi exactly the same ang guidelines ng national government na ibinaba nila kamakailan lamang doon sa nakapaloob sa aming pong ordinansa. And that is because our granular lockdown system, which we call special concern lockdown, this started here in Quezon City given the size of our city, given the unique demographics of our city and our profile, and we decided this was one of the best ways to respond to the pandemic. No? Pero ang gumagawa po ng desisyon ay ang aming CESU, ang City Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit. Hindi po ito political decision. Ito po ay decision ng mga medical practitioners. At medyo naiba siya doon sa guidelines ng national government. Doon sa national government kasi very specific sila. Kung may 1 case, ito isasara. Kung 2 cases, ganito kadami ang floors, halimbawa ng isang building ang isasara. Sa amin, it's a case-to-case basis depending on the gravity of the situation. Depending, halimbawa, kung yung mga bahay ay dikit-dikit, kung yung mga tao ay densely packed in one area, kung yung mga tao ay may capability to observe social distancing and other minimum health standards. So ito po ang mga tinitignan natin batayan o criteria para mag-lockdown. And also we have a preemptive side to it. No? So hindi nangangailangan na may positive case. Minsan kapag nabalitaan namin na magkaroon ng super spreader event like isang inuman o isang party sa isang lugar, we already preemptively lock down that area so that we can do extensive testing. So in all of our lockdown areas, kaakibat po ng lockdown ang extensive testing. Lahat po ng naka-lockdown na tao ay tinetest. Lahat po ay binibigyan ng ayuda. At ngayon po, nais namin i-resolbahin yung issue about yung mga no work, no pay na naka-lockdown. Meron na po kaming nilaan na pondo. It's called Kalinga para sa manggagawa. That is a financial assistance given to those who are receiving pay on a daily basis. No? Ngayon doon naman po sa may trabaho pero hindi pwedeng pumasok, the city itself or the barangay calls the employer and tells the employer that your employee is on lockdown, kindly not take him out of work. At meron naman po tayong mga DOLE guidelines to assist us in ensuring that our workers are protected.
Okay, yan ang gustong marinig ng maraming nanonood, di ba? Kung may ayuda. Maraming salamat po, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte. Thank you, ma'am. The entire Metro Manila will be placed under Alert Level 4 starting tomorrow until the end of the month. What are the do's and the don'ts? Well, if you are a minor or a senior citizen age 65 and above, you are still not allowed to leave your homes. Same goes for persons with comorbidities and pregnant women. If you do not fall in any of these categories, then you are free to go outside. But even if you are allowed to leave your home, expect that some establishments will remain closed, and those include indoor tourist spots like museums. You may also want to do your workouts at home, as gyms and fitness studios will be remaining closed. Like in previous lockdowns, entertainment establishments and social gatherings are also prohibited under Alert Level 4. And you may also have to cancel that face-to-face meeting, as this is also not allowed. And of course, some establishments will also reopen their doors tomorrow. That includes restaurants, those that offer personal care services like barbershops and salons, as well as churches. If you are fully vaccinated, you are allowed to enjoy your meal indoors or sit inside the church or the salon as long as the venue has yet to reach its 10% capacity. If you have or if you have not yet gotten your vaccine, you may still be accommodated, but only outside the establishment where a 30% capacity is allowed. Also allowed under Alert Level 4 are inter- or intra-zonal travel, individual exercise outdoors, and attending or hosting necrological services.
These are the other big stories tonight. Under the new quarantine system in NCR, 2 COVID infections may merit a street or even a floor level in a condominium building to be put on lockdown. A counterterrorism expert believes Japan's warning of possible Islamist threats in the region holds water. He cited an attack of the Maute group weeks ago as a possible indicator of such plans. And if you haven't registered for the elections next year, you only have 2 weeks left. The Commission on Elections says voter registration will not be extended. These big stories after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Preparations are in full swing for restaurants and personal care services that are set to restart operations tomorrow.
But they have one appeal to the government: be consistent in announcing future policy changes. JC Cosico with the story.
Employees of this salon in Mandaluyong City have started cleaning up for their reopening tomorrow. A sticker informing the public that employees have been fully vaccinated is placed at the entrance. COO Rolly Febrer said this gives an assurance that the establishment is safe.
Safety ng staff namin at the same time safety ng mga client namin para maprotektahan sila.
Under Alert Level 4, a 30% seating capacity is allowed for outdoor services, regardless of the vaccination status of customers, while 10% is the maximum capacity for services done indoors.
Masaya na rin naman kami doon. At least po mayroon tayong mayroong kakainin, makakadagdag po ng survival ng mga staff.
The resumption of services will be of big help for salon employee RC Lopez. Lopez had to juggle 2 jobs at the same time when the salon stopped operating for more than a month.
Bantay ako ng sa karinderya. Tapos nagsa-sideline din ako, nagbantay bata. Gumawa rin kaming paraan para at least makasurvive sa gutom namin.
Staff under facial and massage services though still have no luck, as operations of these are still not allowed under Alert Level 4. Meanwhile, restaurants have also started stocking up on food supplies. In this restaurant in Mandaluyong, a notice that only fully vaccinated individuals will be allowed inside is also placed near the entrance. Like salon personnel, restaurant owners are calling on the government to be consistent on its announcements and policy changes.
Para at least yung preparations din ho namin na at least doon sa mapapasukin namin, sa mga bibilihin ho namin na walang masisira at masasayang.
The Trade Department says about 150 to 200,000 individuals are expected to return to work once the pilot run begins. The new lockdown strategy is also seen to recover 180 million pesos in revenues per week. Alert Level 4 in Metro Manila will last until the end of the month. For News 5, JC Cosico, We Are One News.
Along with the alert level system, granular lockdowns will also be implemented in the capital. But just how strict will this be? Metro Manila Council Chairman and Parañaque Mayor Edwin Olivares says a single COVID infection may result in a house or a floor level in a condominium building to be locked down. A street may also be shut if there are at least 2 COVID cases. During the first 7 days, the city government will provide food packs for those affected. The Social Welfare Department would shoulder the remaining days. Olivares says officials may also conduct surprise inspections.
Davao City will soon allow COVID patients to undergo home isolation as the city's hospitals remain overwhelmed more than ever. Jem Avancenia with the details.
Outside the Southern Philippines Medical Center in Davao City, ambulances occupied most of the road space. They've been carrying COVID-positive patients or those exhibiting symptoms, but they have nowhere to go. The city's main COVID hub is already full house. Over 600 COVID beds, 500 ward beds, and 100 intensive care units have been occupied for a week now. Most patients have yet to be vaccinated. SPMC staff have been working around the clock as they are short on personnel. Their emergency room is brimming with patients, so much so that queues stretch to the lobby, making it difficult to walk in and out of the hospital.
Napakarami talaga. Sakto lang na makadaan ng isang tao. Ang daming pasyenteng nakahilera.
The SPMC continues to extend their facilities, specifically their ICU and ward beds, to accommodate the increasing number of COVID-19 patients. Yesterday, 712 new cases of COVID-19 were recorded here in Davao City, bringing the total number of active cases to more than 9,000. With that, Davao government has allowed COVID patients to undergo home isolation. Mayor Sara Duterte had once dismissed the idea. It won't take effect just yet, as the city is still waiting for the health department's guidelines. Duterte Carpio said they are now mulling putting up an oxygen plant as the city's oxygen supply is already running low.
Yung mga suppliers natin, base sa meeting namin, may isang ingredient ng oxygen na ubos na sa mga manufacturer. Kaya kailangan pa nilang hintayin iyon bago makapag-manufacture ulit.
For the meantime, some of the city's vaccination sites have started accepting walk-ins. The City Health Office said they should encourage more Davaoeños to get inoculated as soon as possible. For News 5, Jem Avancenia, we are One News.
For those who still have not registered as voters, you only have until the end of the month. The Commission on Elections is no longer making any extensions as they move forward to preparing for Election Day 2022. Mayan Los Baños with the story.
With just 15 days to go till the deadline, voters looking to register for the 2022 elections lined up early in the day at the COMELEC office in Quezon City. For them, every vote counts.
Sa nangyayari ngayon sa government natin, siguro it's time for a change na po. Maiboto yung mga dapat na nakaupo.
Kahit very early in the morning, pumila pa rin kami kasi one vote is very important.
Voters' registration ends September 30 and COMELEC says there won't be any extension. Lawmakers are appealing through filed resolutions to have it extended until October 31.
There are so many preparations na maapektuhan po, Madam Chair. We cannot compromise those other preparations kasi po because of also the pandemic situations, talagang medyo lipit na kami.
The COMELEC is already focusing on election day concerns, particularly the need for more voting precincts. The target is to have only 800 voters per precinct. This would require an additional 10,000 more vote counting machines or VCMs that would cost 1 billion pesos. Due to budget constraints, the poll body isn't sold on a 2-day voting schedule.
Ang magiging issue talaga namin dito is yung additional budget ng ating mga teachers, mga electoral boards. So, kasamaang palad, na-slash po yung budget ng ating mga teachers. We are still dependent on the budget given to us.
Instead, voting day may be extended by 5 hours.
Ayaw na ayaw talaga ng COMELEC at ng karamihan na maging 2 or 3 days itong botohan kasi nga tuwing palit ng shift, talagang may kababalagan na nangyayari. Baan na lang yung shift at yung oras ng pagboboto. Mag-umpisa ng napakaaga at matirang matibay hanggang gabi.
The COMELEC says 8 billion pesos is needed all in all to accommodate the adjustments in the next year's elections. COMELEC will have a simulation on Sunday to determine the number of extension hours needed for Election Day. As of today, there are already 62 million registered voters in the country. This is 3 million higher than COMELEC's original target of 59 million. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
For the big story in sports, in the PBA, the TNT Tropang Giga has clinched a twice-to-beat advantage in the quarterfinals after defeating the Northport Batangpier 102-92. Kib Montalvo and Mikey Williams combined for 51 points, keeping the Tropang Giga on top of the standings with a 9-1 record. Northport, meanwhile, saw their 3-game streak end as they fall to a 4-4 win-loss card. For the second game, Barangay Ginebra escaped with a crucial victory over the Phoenix Fuel Masters 94-87. Stanley Pringle led Ginebra with 31 big points as the Gin Kings moved to 4-5 in the standings, keeping their playoff hopes alive. Meanwhile, a hefty incentive worth 1.5 million pesos awaits Filipino pole vaulter EJ Obiena for setting a new Asian and national record. Last Saturday, Obiena set a new meet record of 5.93 meters, eclipsing the previous Asian mark of 5.92 meters held by Kazakhstan's Igor Poptapovich. The Philippine Sports Commission decided to give the reward after receiving confirmation from the World and Asian Athletics Federations. The PSC had already given Obiena 250,000 pesos for shattering the previous national record of 5.87 meters last June. Time for another quick break. More of the big stories when we return.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Southeast Asian countries are now monitoring any possible security threats following Japan's recent warning to its citizens.
While there is no clear information yet on the issue, an expert believes the warning has basis. Mobile journalist Stanley Gahete gives us a front seat to the story.
Japan threw 6 Southeast Asian countries into a frenzied security alert, sent warnings to its citizens to stay away from crowded areas and religious gatherings because of potential attacks from Islamist militants. In the Philippines, diplomatic and security officials were caught by surprise. Counter-terrorist expert Romel Banlawi, who has been watching developments in Mindanao, believed there was a credible threat.
Malakas naman yung intelligence agencies ng Japan at hindi magre-release ng ang Japan ng ganyang klaseng advisory nang walang solid basis.
Islamic State militants in the Middle East have strong linkages with like-minded extremist groups in the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Myanmar, and Thailand.
Yung Islamic State East Asia, may malaking relasyon yan sa Islamic State Khorasan kasi yan ang ginagamit ng ISIS Central na major conduit para i-finance yung mga terrorist activities sa Southeast Asia.
2 weeks ago, remnants of the Maute group had clashes with the army in Lanao del Sur. The Islamic State had acknowledged its fighters in Mindanao were responsible for the attack. Banlawi said these extremist groups could be planning suicide bombing.
Previous months also, nagkaroon ng mga arrest dito sa Metro Manila of Abu Sayyaf group personalities with the intention to mount terrorist bombings in the national capital region.
While there's no detailed information, the AFP said it has raised threat warning to moderate level.
Terrorism knows no border, no? But it doesn't mean we will let our guards down. We constantly monitor and be vigilant.
Islamist militant attacks are expected to increase as extremists around the world have been inspired by the swift victory of the Taliban in Afghanistan last month. What countries around the world need to do now is to stay vigilant. I am Stanley Gahete and we are One News.
Apple has unveiled the iPhone 13 and a new iPad mini, expanding 5G connectivity and showing off faster chips and sharper cameras. For analysts, these are not blockbuster features, but should be enough to urge customers with older models to make an upgrade since prices are relatively the same. The iPhone 13 will have a new chip called the A15 Bionic that enables features like automatically translating text. The phone also has a better display, longer battery life, and a cinematic mode for automatically changing focus while taking videos. The phone will start at $699.
Pasig is taking a step further in developing a bike-friendly urban space in the country. It has formally opened the Capitolio intersection earlier today. The human-centered intersection would be the first ever protected bike lane spearheaded by a local government unit. It would also feature bike boxes. The boxes prioritize cyclists at intersections to allow them to get ahead of traffic and safely turn left. Motorists may not obstruct bike lanes and bike boxes, else they will be incurring penalties. Pasig City's Transport Office said there will be additional paint jobs and bike lane bollards in the coming days.
It's actually a very good idea kasi madalas problema ng mga siklista kung ano dito yung bike lane tapos
Paano ka
tatawid.
liliko?
Oo, sobrang delikado yun. And lalo na, actually isa pang delikado, yung kumari yung bike lane mo, meron yung cemented. Usually, the bollards are better so that you can go in and out anytime there's an obstruction. So, you will only know that if you're a cyclist. So, I hope...
Tsaka marami kasing hindi bibigay para sa...
Tama!
Maraming ganun, ha? Whether you're talking about cars or motorcycles. In fact, I noticed nga maraming motor nasa bike lanes eh.
Oo.
Which is not supposed to be the case.
Yon. Dami pa natin kailangan matutunan pagdating sa cycling infrastructure and respect for mga cyclists.
Magalit sa yung cigarette.
Well, that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. On behalf of Robbie Lampay, I'm Edlin Gao.
And I'm Gretchen Hall. We are One News. Have a good evening.
Are you sleepy today? Are you...
Yung first dose, I felt really sleepy.
But it's nice sleepy, di ba? It's nice sleepy.
Yes.
Oo.
It actually forced me to sleep.